On today's Two on Your Side Town Hall, the rematch. The Bills looking to get some revenge after getting bounced from the playoffs last season in Kansas City. We're going to take a deep dive into the matchup ahead Sunday night. Plus, a Western New York native's fight to get companies to have more oversight from the government. They're supposed to protect people, and he knows a thing or two about this after his daughter was killed in a crash involving one of those guardrails. And can the government mandate a vaccine for the general public? It is a thorny legal question and one the Verify team gets to the bottom of. And we're glad you're here with us today, everybody. First up, you might remember a few years back, Two on Your Side investigated the X-Light guardrail for highways. It's a device that was linked to several deaths across the country, including Fredonia native Hannah Eimers. The 17-year-old died in a crash into an X-Light guardrail in Tennessee, and her father spent years after that crusading to get them removed all over the country. Well, there has been some change here in New York, thankfully, and several other states, but now this dad has a new idea and a new fight. A federal study found that Lindsay Corp, which made the X-Light until it was discontinued, only tested the device at a laboratory that it owned, and that it had no process for actually verifying the results of those tests. So Steve Eimers is now pushing a change to the federal law to prevent something like this from happening again and ensure more oversight. He says it's unthinkable that this was allowed to happen.
I was shocked. I have talked with individuals outside of the highway safety industry, and many of them simply won't believe me. But, we have these reports from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Volpe Institute and the Government Accountability Office. And we have the letters on the Federal Highway Administration that showed that they simply let the foxes guard the henhouse. And that has to stop.
He says that has to stop. To stop it, there is some language in the bipartisan infrastructure bill that's been debated endlessly on Capitol Hill that would ban this kind of self-dealing. Now, Eimers says it's up to lawmakers to vote on it.
We need an up and down vote on this infrastructure bill. This is not just some abstract $1.2 trillion bill. This bill would have saved the life of my daughter. This bill, there's other safety advocates out there that have fought for years for language that makes up 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 paragraphs in this bill. It needs to come up for a clean up and down vote.
And so that brings us to this. This is the latest on that bipartisan infrastructure bill. We're looking live at Capitol Hill right now. No votes scheduled on this at the moment because remember, there is another spending bill, the one that at least previously was $3.5 trillion. And the deal from the beginning was to pass both of those bills at the same time. One is like hard infrastructure. The other has been called human infrastructure. You have a couple of Democratic senators right now, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who are not on board with the larger bill, and that's what's kind of holding up the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So again, no vote scheduled right now on that one. We will, of course, keep you posted. All right, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills now and a big game that's coming up this weekend. We don't always talk a lot of sports here on the Town Hall, but let's be honest, this is really what everyone is talking about right now. The Bills and the Chiefs will tee it off Sunday night. On Sunday Night Football, you'll see it right here on Channel 2. So we're going to take an in-depth look for you tonight, get you ready for the game. And it's hard to forget the last time these two teams met. It was the AFC title game back in January, the Chiefs ending that amazing Bills playoff run with a 38-24 win. This weekend's game, of course, it's not for a trip to the Super Bowl this time, but it could put one of these two teams in the driver's seat to get a potential #1 seed in the AFC. That's big. You want home field advantage as you head into the playoffs. All of this coming in front of the biggest TV audience of the week on Sunday Night Football on NBC. We're going to get some local perspective on all this in just a moment. First, we got this from the folks at NBC Sports.
Maria Taylor and Chris Sims here with you, and we've got a great matchup coming your way on Sunday. It's a rematch of the AFC Championship. The Buffalo Bills going on the road to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. So, Chris, what do you have your eye on in this one?
Well, of course, the two quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. No two quarterbacks make more plays off schedule, rocket right arms, really athletic, right? So that's going to be fun to watch. But I think specifically the Chiefs offense versus this great Bills defense. Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, great game plans week in and week out, cause turnovers, get after the quarterback. And Kansas City, as you know, has kind of been all over the place on the offensive side of the ball. Good start for them last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Can they take that into this matchup against Buffalo? We'll see. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes had 5 touchdowns in Week 4. We'll see if the train continues. But we've got a great matchup coming your way, and we will kick it off at 7 p.m. Eastern with Football Night in America.
Yeah, we're obviously excited about it as well. Let's bring in our Bills insider, Vic Carucci, to talk about this game right now. And a reminder, Vic, as we're showing people there, our pregame coverage begins with a special edition of Sports Talk Live that will feature you and our sports team at 6:30 on Sunday evening. We've been talking about this one. We knew as soon as the schedule came out this was going to be big. Whatever anybody thinks about the Chiefs, their offense is really good, especially when they're all clicking. How does the Bills defense get ready for that, especially coming off of 2 shutouts in just 3 games? But of course, they haven't played Patrick Mahomes.
Well, Michael, first thing we're going to find out is just how good this Bills defense is, right? It's certainly one of the very best in the league statistically, but we're looking at the opponents, and you could say, well, okay, that was against Miami, which had its quarterback issues, and Washington, which had its quarterback issues, and, Houston, more quarterback issues. So just how good is it? You are what your schedule says you are, what your record says you are, but this is the Chiefs, and they're playing in a different league offensively, and they have for a while. So we are going to get a good idea as to just how good this defense is.
So let's ball. People may be wondering which Josh Allen is going to show up in KC, right? The one who dominated against Washington, or maybe the one who struggled early on. You think of that Steelers game. How do you kind of survey the offense of the Bills right now?
Yeah, we've only seen one version of Josh Allen so far in 4 games that looked like the 2020 version. That was, of course, the Washington game. And that'll be a good question in terms of this game, because he has to be something along the lines of the 2020 Josh to keep pace with Kansas City. Now, Kansas City's defense struggles. It's had problems, and it's given up points. And I suspect Josh and the rest of the Bills offense will have success, Michael, but the key here will be how much success, and will it be enough to keep pace with the best offense, really the offense that's performing the best in the NFL, and that's Kansas City's.
So we have to talk about the weather for this game. It kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't sort of expecting this, but we're now hearing that, that this could be a big impact for the game come Sunday night. So meteorologist Elise Smith is joining me and Vic right now. And Elise, looking like it might be a bit stormy as you look in Missouri this weekend.
Yeah, at first glance, there are showers and storms in the forecast Sunday night. But as we know, timing is everything when it comes to these games. And the conditions at kickoff are going to be likely rain-free, just cloudy with some scattered showers and storms later on in the second half of the game, possibly even later than that. We're looking at 10, 11 o'clock, but that could be late enough for the second half of the game, or even, God forbid, we go into overtime. So this is something we're going to be closely monitoring over the next few days. Again, as of right now, Bills Mafia, if you're headed to Arrowhead Stadium, if you're headed to Kansas City, pack the rain gear just in case. But right now, fingers crossed, it looks like just cloudy but very warm for this Sunday night football game, Michael.
Yeah, definitely can have an impact. So, Vic, we wanted to bring this up because the weather can always impact a game, right? How do you see this playing out and factoring in?
Yeah, well, it was so strange, right? We saw on Monday Night Football in Los Angeles, a delayed game because of lightning in Los Angeles, which you don't hear of often. And also, it's an enclosed place, so it was strange on many levels. But look, I think what you had the torrential rains for that Houston game, and I think that may have affected, ball control and all that, or hanging on to the ball to some degree, or the ability to make throws and get a good grip on it. But Josh Allen, big hands guy as a quarterback. I don't think he has problem gripping it. I don't think Patrick Mahomes has too much problem gripping it. The great players figure out how to deal with the elements.
So, Vic, I was at Arrowhead Stadium, covering the playoffs last year. Beautiful place to watch a football game up in the press box. I know that you've been there before. It is an intimidating place to play football. So how do you see that being an impact here? Wouldn't the Bills love to be playing this team at home instead of on the road, especially when the spotlight is there with the national TV audience on Sunday night?
Yeah, I'm sure they would, but here's the thing, Michael. It's also renowned for a hostile environment in the sense that the crowd does play into the action and maybe forces penalties with the noise. This has happened to the Bills before. It's happened with other opponents. Just as Highmark Stadium, I mean, there are no slouches as far as the Buffalo fans and what they can do to affect the game. But what's interesting here is you've heard the Bills talk about it being a hostile environment, and a lot of that reference was to the AFC Championship game where the place wasn't full. It was maybe, a quarter of, I think, what you're going to see in terms of total fans Sunday night, electrified, national TV, primetime game. So it will be interesting to see how that plays into it. The fact that the Bills mentioned it is interesting. It means a lot of silent count work that they've been doing this week and being all adjusting to the idea that your communication has to be very special and very on point because the crowd will try to take you out of your game.
Yeah, I will say, this past January in Kansas City, there were a lot of Bills fans who showed up, as you mentioned, despite the fact that they weren't selling all the seats because of COVID restrictions. Finally here, Vic, what are you looking for right now on the injury front? I know we kind of get updates on that day by day, especially with linebacker Matt Milano and not being able to play. Yeah,
so 3 guys, Milano being one of them, A.J. Epinesa and Tywan Jones are questionable for this game. By technical term, that means a 50-50 chance that they play. It's a concern about Milano if there is any chance that he doesn't play because of his involvement, not only getting after the quarterback, a factor in the run-stopping game, but also Travis Kelce, the great tight end for Kansas City. The coverage on him involves Milano, involves linebackers, involves safety. So that's something to keep an eye on. I know there's been the day-to-day talk from Sean McDermott, so people have tried to keep their fingers crossed and be optimistic that he'll be out there.
All right, we'll be following it closely over the next 48 hours heading up to it. Vic, great to see you. I know it's going to be a great game. We're all looking forward to it right here on Channel 2. Good to see you.
All right, great to see you, Michael.
All right. We asked you for your predictions on the game in our online poll. So far, it looks like we've got some cautious optimists out there. Most of you thinking that it is going to be a close Bills win. You can keep weighing in right now, WGRZ.com/vote, or use the 2 on Your Side app.